So the extremists of the Extinction Rebellion say they are planning never-ending civil disobedience designed to make the daily lives of hard-working Brits even harder. I, of course, respect the right for peaceful protest, but it's about time we start realising there's nothing peaceful about the criminal damage caused by this group of middle-class socialists who seem to get a complete pass from much of the media, the police and the justice system. Sky News keeps describing these folk as activists when they are without doubt scumbag common criminals who just happen to smell really bad. Remember earlier this year when they arrived at the headquarters of a London bank and began smashing up its windows with hammers, causing thousands of pounds of damage in the process? Or when they blockaded printing presses, stopping Britain's great newspapers from being distributed in an anti-commercial and anti-free speech illegal stunt? Or when they blocked bridges, causing ambulances full of patients to be stuck in traffic? If we just shrug off this type of wanton criminal damage and never-ending violence, we risk becoming the USA, where it's been a usual sight for entire city centres to be boarded up in recent months thanks to the threat of Antifa protests. Why do police treat these dangerous folk intent on willful destruction with such a soft touch? Perhaps it's because they are middle-class champagne socialists. But that has to stop this year. This is a disgraceful organisation founded on extremism. And I say that, remember, as a long-term environmentalist who believes the UK is already leading the world in action against climate change. But progress must be gradual, measured and weighed up against the economic cost. In a Western democracy, there are a multitude of avenues available for folk to protest or express our displeasure that do not involve turning up with hammers and smashing up the headquarters of businesses, putting workers' safety at threat. A civil society must eschew violence and criminal destruction in all forms. The Extinction Rebellion are a malevolent force doing far more harm than good to the climate change cause they claim to represent. I'm not particularly fond of a political pile-on, but the A-level catastrophe overseen by the Education Secretary GAVIN Williamson is the final straw for me. The bloke couldn't even remember his own A-level results, so it's hardly a surprise he's overseeing the type of grade inflation that will wreak havoc for universities, employers and students for years to come. Not to mention the biggest disparity, and this really worries me, between private schools and comprehensives in modern times. It's heartening that Boris Johnson is considering replacing him with the ballsy Equalities Minister, KEMI, BADENOCH, who has become internationally famous for speaking out against the teaching of white privilege and critical race theory in British schools in the wake of last year's Black Lives Matter protests. She's certainly a success story in her own right, you know. She arrived at London at just 16 years old with £100 in her pocket and studying for A-levels part-time while working at McDonald's. And 25 years later, she's one of the brightest rising stars in this Tory government. Reflecting her own education journey, she previously recalled, most of the students were from ethnic minorities and the expectations for us were low. The poverty of low expectations must change. Schools and teachers matter. And so does leadership, by the way, from government. So Gavin Williamson deserves the dunce cap, I'm sorry, and KEMI BADENOCH deserves a shot at his job before even more damage is done. Now, I've always known, I'm sure you know too, the SNP and Nicola Sturgeon don't have much of a sense of humour. But according to a top Scottish comedian, they're even starting to ban jokers who don't support their independence politics. So Leo Kearse, who was named Scotland's best comedian as recently as 2018, has revealed that he is now hardly booked for gigs in Scotland because the woke SNP, in his words, own the main comedy clubs. No wonder he has declared Scotland is like North Korea. And look, you've got to allow me for just 1 minute to talk about a very special potential Friends reunion, because, you know, in the summer quiet months, some happy news to lift the spirits is a very good thing. The one where Ross and Rachel get together in real life, I think, is the romance the entire world is pining for. I'm convinced, you know, that David Schwimmer is the man who can truly make Jennifer Aniston happy and content women. It's never made sense, actually, why one of the most desirable and famous people on the planet has remained so perennially unlucky in love, unable to find a man to fulfill her needs. But maybe, just maybe, it's because the true love of her life has been within reach for so long. But circumstances and a certain dude called Brad Pitt meant it just could never happen until now. So maybe it's just a 90s fantasy I'm having today. Maybe Jen and Dave will give it a go and work out they're actually better as just friends. But mark my words, their biggest regret will be if they don't give it a go at all. Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.